I have a whole library of his work. Like I study Bruce Lee, right? Here's an objection. Let me think about it. Ooh, what do you need to think about? Boom, right? They say, let's do a quick role play, okay? It's easier to demonstrate.
So I'm curious, I'm going to ask you two questions here at the same time.
Okay.
One, what did the practice of martial arts teach you? And the second, on the topic of Bruce Lee, essentially he mentored you, right? From a distance. And
yes,
that is very common today, where people are tuned into other people's social media platforms like yourself, Dan, and they're being mentored by you. So my two questions are, one, what did you learn from the practice of martial arts? And number two, what did you learn from Bruce Lee?
Wow. Okay, that's a big question. First of all, I'm a huge fan of Bruce Lee, obviously, and I've actually studied under two of Bruce Lee's original students, Sifu Ted Wong and Sifu Joe Louis. Both are Bruce Lee's original students. So, and when I say I'm a big fan of Bruce Lee, I don't mean like I just watch his movies. I mean, I have a whole library of his work. Like I study Bruce Lee. Like I really study Bruce Lee. So how he has impacted my life tremendously. His philosophies, because people think he's as an actor, but he's a philosopher. He's an artist, right? Martial artist, not just a fighter. And I see what I do. People talk about entrepreneurship. Now, Matt, he's my definition of an entrepreneur. And I believe an entrepreneur is an artist in commerce.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Meaning that we use our skills, we turn our vision into reality. Some people like to paint. Business is our art form.
Okay.
We take an idea, we put together the people, we turn it into reality, and we turn something from nothing to something, right? So that's our art form. That's why I say entrepreneur is an artist in commerce. Okay, let me give you a perfect example. Okay, I'm going to give you a perfect example. Let's say talk about in sales, okay? In sales, you have, one of the most common objections you'll hear is, let me think about it, I'll get back to you.
Yep.
Have you heard of that before, right?
Who hasn't?
Right, like you talk to the prospect, they're like, hey man, Matt, love what you do. Let me think about it, I'll get back to you. Now, in martial arts, so in sales, a lot of people, they talk about handling objections, right? A prospect throws an objection at you, you're gonna somehow say something to handle the objection, right? In martial art, it's the same. I'll make a room. You can see me okay? Okay, I'll demonstrate.
So you're perfect.
Okay, so someone throws an objection at you, so think of that as a strike. So we would do example, most salespeople, they would block and then they would counter, right? Here's an objection. Let me think about it. Ooh, what do you need to think about? Boom, right?
Yeah.
That's a very typical traditional martial art. Now, Bruce Lee's martial art, on the other hand, JKD, stands for the way of the intercepting fist. Meaning, Bruce didn't believe in blocking. Because from his perspective, blocking is you're too reactive. When someone says, I want to think about it, right? It's too slow. He believes in intercepting, meaning to preempt the strike. So if instead of me blocking and then attacking, someone wants to attack, I just intercept.
So it's essentially seeing the step ahead or being a step ahead.
So take sales. So instead of wait till the very end, your prospect says, I want to think about it, right? So here's what I'll do. They say, let's do a quick role play, okay? It's easier to demonstrate. So Matt, pretend I'm a closer, you're my prospect, okay? We're 5 minutes into the conversation. Before I say something, I'll say something like this. I'm gonna preempt the whole thing. I say, hey Matt, before I get into how I could help you solve your problems, I can help your company, can we make a simple agreement?
Sure.
By the end of our conversation, you could say 3 things to me. First thing you could say is, yes, that you think it's a good fit, that we're gonna move forward, we're gonna work together, okay? And that's good, we're gonna work together. The second thing you could say is no. And I want you to know it's perfectly okay to say no. Okay, if you don't think it's a good fit, it's okay, don't worry about that. The third thing that you could say to me, but I don't want you to, is I want to think about it. Because usually, from my experience, when someone says, I want to think about it, to me, what they mean is no. I'll rather just tell me no. Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%.
That's a preempt. So now we will not get to the end of the conversation and you would say, I want to think about it. Because I've already made the agreement with you 5 minutes into the conversation. You're going to say yes or you're going to say no.
I love that.
You see, that's a preamp. So that's how I took a martial art philosophy and applied it in business. I can show 100 other examples, but that's one of those.